Hello, today we're going to discuss on how to change out a shaft seal on your pump. And on the pump here you've got the wet end where the impeller is at, and on the back side where the electrical would go inside of the back of the motor. You're going to need to use probably a 1/4 inch wrench or a flathead or some sort of socket set. Today it's a 1/4 inch, so we're going to undo the screw and be able to pull the back end of the motor off. Sometimes you have to bang on it to get it off. Then as you can see on the back here, it's got the back of the shaft, which is, you're going to need a big screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, to hold on to that shaft, because that shaft goes all the way up through the motor to the wet end. And then, so I'm going to move it back around over here to the front of the wet end. You can see I've got a series of the screws, most of them halfway taken out for this demonstration. And you're going to want to take off all the screws to be able to expose the actual impeller on the inside. And as you can see, it's got a retainer clip. Looks like a little top hat. The only thing is, you always want the big fat ridge facing out when putting it back together. We'll go over that in a minute. Now, here's your impeller. Behind this impeller is where the shaft seal is going to be located at. Now, there's going to be a couple tools that you might have to use getting this impeller off. Of course, now that you remember talking about the back of the motor, you're going to want to hang on to the back of the motor with the flathead screwdriver, and possibly sometimes even using a set of channel locks to hang on to the screwdriver, as you're going to be wanting to move the impeller off the back of the shaft here. So sometimes they are on hand tight. Most of the time you're going to have to use something like an open end oil can wrench to be able to grab the actual impeller. Other times you can actually see that there's a space in between the wet end and the motor, so you can actually use a set of needle nose pliers and put the needle nose down onto the actual shaft and crimp it. So now you've got the shaft locked into place, so that all you have to do is use your pliers so you can get a good grip on the impeller. Or you might have to actually use channel locks. And then once you actually have that needle nose holding the shaft locked into place, you should be able to pull that impeller, loosen it up so that you're able to get the impeller off. Behind the impeller itself is going to be the shaft seal. As you can see, there's the back end of the shaft seal back here, and you have the spring-loaded portion of it on the actual impeller. You're going to want to be able to take some sort of flathead screwdriver to get up underneath the actual shaft. Make sure you're getting the whole entire shaft seal off. There's a rubber gasket in here that can often be left behind on top of the actual impeller. And then also you're going to want to use your flathead screwdriver to get the other shaft seal out. And as you can see, you get the whole entire shaft seal out. And then next you're going to be replacing the old shaft seal with the new shaft seal. So the first thing you want to do is obviously take the back half of the shaft seal. This is the whole shaft seal itself. The back end is going to sit back inside here without the springs. The spring one is going to go back onto the actual impeller. So we'll put the one without the springs into the back. Make sure you don't get any grease on the actual ceramic piece. Make sure to have a rag handy so you can wipe off the oil off the actual ceramic piece. And you're going to put your spring-loaded shaft seal back onto the impeller. And a lot of the time what I like to do is use a little bit of O-ring lube on the inside of this so that it can actually go down the shaft smoothly. Give it a little bit of a turn as you're doing it to kind of help you slide down. And then remember, you have your needle nose here or your flathead screwdriver to be able to hold on to the back of the shaft again, as you're going to need it to hold the shaft in place as you screw the impeller back on. And as you tighten it, you only want to make it hand tight, no more than that. And after that, you're pretty much all set. You take off your tools, and then you're going to be completing it by putting the, gotta make sure that you get your retainer clip back on. Almost forgot about that. Like I said, it looks like a little top hat, but you want to make sure you put the fat end of the actual retainer clip to the outside, and then you can put your cap on. And then tighten your screws, and you're going to be all set to go. And that's how you change out a shaft seal.